In today's case, a teenage girl would disappear after being dropped off outside of her friend's home, only for her battered body to be found just hours later in a rural ditch.
She's exactly how you see her in that picture. Big blue eyes, sense of humor like there's no tomorrow. So excited about starting high school.
Still no answers.
9 years ago today.
What happened to these two young children?
Remains a mystery.
Urgent story unfolding right now. Who is missing? An unsolved murder.
"14-year-old Karen Leanne Caughlin, nicknamed Twiggy, was born May 31st of 1959 to her mother Barbara and her father Joseph, who was a telephone installer for Bell Canada. She was the second youngest of 6 children, having 3 sisters named Mary Lou, Kathleen, and Mary Beth, and 2 brothers named Michael and Daniel. She also shared a bedroom with her sister Kathleen, known as Kathy. The family lived in Sarnia, Ontario, a city along the border of Michigan on the St. Clair River. Karen was described as a vibrant teen girl full of life and vitality. She was a good, quiet girl that had plenty of girlfriends and was in the color guard of the Blue Water Buccaneers Drum Corps. She was also attending 9th grade at Sarnia Collegiate Institute and Technical School. Karen would last be seen around 12:50 a.m. on Saturday, March 16th of 1974. She had spent the evening from approximately 7:45 p.m. to midnight roller skating at Rose Gardens in Point Edward with friends. One of the last people to see Karen alive was a classmate named Lisa Rich, who had invited Karen over for a sleepover once they were done roller skating. However, when Lisa's father came to pick her up before 11 p.m., Karen changed her mind, wanting to stay longer and hang out with her friends before heading home. Those friends would later drop her off outside of 238 Brock Street South in Sarnia, which was a friend's house. This home was located just a 4-minute walk from Karen's home. After being dropped off outside of the friend's house, she never went inside of it. It wouldn't be until 9 hours later, around 9:50 a.m., when Karen's body would be discovered in a shallow ditch on a gravel road by a farmer driving by. The location was near the side of then 6th Side Road, now known as Plowing Match Road, between Churchill Line and LaSalle Line in Lambton County. What happened to Karen during that 9-hour gap is unknown to this day. In early articles, Karen's body is described as being bruised with tire marks on her body and blood pooled around her. Her coat and shoes were found a short distance from her body in a pile of branches. Her purse was located in a third location on Highway 21, about 5 kilometers from where her body was found off the road in a ravine. Autopsy would show Karen had died of internal bleeding as a result of injuries consistent with being struck and run over by a motor vehicle. She was not SA'd, although there are reports suggesting that she may have been beaten, possibly beaten even prior to being run over, and that she was beaten unrecognizable. Her battered body, along with other evidence, such as paint chips that were found among her clothing, suggested that she had actually been struck or run over by a vehicle about 3 kilometers away from where her body was found on Oil Heritage Road. There were also theories that she may have been lured into a vehicle and then run over to make it look like a hit-and-run accident. At one point, Crime Stoppers offered a reward for information about a 1970s to 1971 Dodge high-performance car in the color Plum Crazy, after purple paint chips were found at the scene that track back to a high-performance Chrysler product such as a Charger, Dart, Challenger, Duster, Demon, or Swinger. What's so strange is, Karen's home was located at 171 Brock Street, and she was dropped off only a 4-minute walk away. However, her body was found 9 hours later on what is now Plowing Match Road, which would have been a 4.5-hour walk or a 19-minute car ride, or about 21 kilometers from where she was last seen. How she got there and what happened during those 9 hours is completely unknown. Karen's murder would tear her family apart, and the tragedies in this case would continue. Her sister Kathy would attempt to unalive herself after suffering a nervous breakdown, Kathy saying, quote, "Karen and I shared a bedroom for 14 years. Her entire life. We were extremely close. I just missed her so much. I would just go out there to the cemetery and sit there in the middle of the night. I guess I would try to believe she was really home. I don't really know what I was doing. I was drinking, not eating, not sleeping. On weekends, I'd say, that's it, I'm getting wasted. I just lose myself. I did that for a while until I broke down. I went to hospital for a couple of weeks. My mom found out I tried to unalive myself. I thought I was crazy. I knew inside I had to leave Karen alone. I started doing drugs, but it didn't take long to figure out that when I woke up, the pain was still there. It was always coming at me. The anger, the violence. I just smashed things. I would start talking about her, and the anger would just come out. I never talked to my parents about what I was going through. They were in their own hell. Why would I invite them into mine? Everyone was trying to deal with it, but we were just kids. I didn't know what was happening to me mentally. I didn't know if my mind wanted to accept it, but I saw her in the morgue. Everywhere I went, I got it. It didn't matter if I was in the laundromat, the drugstore, the bar. All I got was, I know who murdered your sister. That's part of the reason why I don't live there anymore. I thought by moving to Calgary, it wasn't going to move with me, but I was wrong." End quote. 5 years after Karen's murder, their parents would separate. Kathy would go on to have 2 sons, and she turned her life around. Their mother eventually passed away, and sadly their father suffered from a heart attack just a day after a rally to publicize Karen's case. Kathy saying that the stress had just become too much for their father. In 2004, there was hope that DNA advancements would lead to the capture of Karen's killer. DNA from a male subject would end up being found, which led to 15 male suspects being ruled out. But by 2014, police were still seeking answers, including wanting to speak to anyone who may have seen Karen the day before her murder on March 15th of 1974, in locations in her community such as the Sarnia Collegiate Institute and Technical School. And in 2017, it would be revealed that police no longer believed that Karen had been beaten to death, but possibly struck by a passing motorist. These 2 theories seem to continuously be brought up. This information came about after a new investigator named Detective Inspector Chris Avery took over and sought a review of the medical evidence and to perform DNA scanning of Karen's clothing she wore the day she was found dead. The going theory now was, due to fog, she was struck by a vehicle while walking along the road. But again, how she got there is unknown. But instead of this individual seeking help, they moved her body blocks away to a ditch, where she may have spent the last minutes to hours of her life suffering from her fatal injuries before she passed away. Detective Avery also believed he was getting closer to identifying the exact vehicle that may have struck her. In a news release, the OPP would say that they wanted to hear from anyone who may have discussed attending or hosting a party in Petrolia after going to the Rose Gardens. They are also looking for information about a car wash in the Petrolia area or damage to a vehicle around March 16, 1974, saying, quote, "Someone may have observed damage to a vehicle or not noticed damage to their own vehicle at the time." End quote. So from the sound of that, it makes me think that police have a theory that possibly Karen was heading to a party in that area, and that's why she ended up in that area. Over the years, multiple campaigns and efforts have taken place in order to get answers and solve Karen's case. In one instance, Karen's case was featured on Sarnia transit bus advertisement spots. In order to spread the word on her case and the reward, articles would be placed in newspapers demanding answers, such as this one, reading, quote, 33 years ago, you brutally ended our sister's life, and you chose to go on with yours. Karen faced a terrifying, horrific death. Our parents faced death without justice, and one day we will all face our own mortality. We know someone out there knows you, and we need this person to see that justice is served." End quote. A memorial would also be set up where her body was found.
The search for Karen's killer is not only the responsibility of the police and our family, but also the community. I know in my heart that there are persons out there that have information, no matter how small, that can help police further their investigation. It is your civic duty to do the right thing and come forward. Yes, there is a reward being offered, but that should not be the catalyst that pushes you to provide the vital information in my sister's case. Her face will continue to be placed in the public eye to remind you of who she was and how senseless her murder was. Please do the right thing and bring an end to this case. Karen can then rest in peace, and it will finally bring closure to my family and the community. Let's pray that 2010 is the year for justice for Karen. She's exactly how you see her in that picture. Big blue eyes, sense of humor like there's no tomorrow. I think she inherited that from my dad. Very skinny, probably 5'5", her hair down to her rear end. So excited about starting high school.
There are just so many questions when it comes to Karen's murder, including one of the biggest ones, which is what happened to her during those 9 hours where she was unaccounted for? And how did she get a block from her home to nearly 30 kilometers away in the middle of that rural area? Was she kidnapped? Did she willingly get into a vehicle? Was there possibly a party in that area she was going towards? Or did someone trick her into getting into a vehicle? Police seem to now be kind of leaning more towards she was accidentally struck, but there are a lot of theories, especially in the beginning, that she possibly was beaten or something had happened to her that was very violent, and then the vehicle was used to cover it up. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. We don't have any of the files relating to Karen's case to actually see that and see what the autopsy actually shows. Either way, whether it was an accident and Karen was walking along that road when she was hit, or whether it was all planned out, she still deserves justice. Her family still needs answers. So if you were in the area of the Rose Garden before Karen was killed, maybe you've seen her there, maybe you knew her, maybe you interacted with her, maybe you overheard about a party of sorts in the area or something along those lines. Maybe you knew Karen and you heard her talking about going somewhere else after. Or maybe you know someone that knows something, or possibly you suspect that someone you know may be involved. If you have any information or any answers, please contact the authorities. You may have the information that leads to this case being solved. Please speak up, because this family deserves closure. And Karen was just a 14-year-old girl. She was so young, and she clearly died a very painful, violent death. So if you're able to give this family answers and get justice for Karen, please do. If you're able to share out this video, please do so as well, because spreading the word is the best way to hopefully get answers. Hopefully it will get to the people that have the answers that are needed. My heart goes out to this family, and as always, I hope you'll stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.